here and all the big railroads were coming out here, his father was instrumental in orchestrating all that and really quite popular. And he learned a lot from him. So I don't know exactly where to start, but maybe if you know, you want to point out what this might be.
This is a plow. This is what they used to use for turning the soil over. You drag this plow through the dirt. This thing would dig in, and then you take this grass and put it underneath.
Was it pulled by a horse?
Well, this was tractor.
This was a tractor one. Okay.
But it could have been pulled by a horse as well. In the early days, they were horse-drawn. There's probably around here somewhere horse-drawn.
Horse-drawn one?
This was pulled with a tractor. In fact, I might have pulled this when I was a youngster.
Okay.
Anton Gladys had some of these.
So that's where these were from?
Farms. Yeah, the local farms.
So they came from local farms that were left here.
This would make turn the soil right over, so then you could take a disc or something and break it all up.
And break it up.
So you could farm it.
So you would do this to the land before you would plant it?
Yeah.
Okay. And what year do you think
this is probably
we're talking about?
The 1930s.
Say that again?
Probably the 1930s.
The 1930s. Okay. That can't be easy for somebody to operate.
No, well.
I mean, that's a big big tool for somebody to stand behind and try to work.
The tractor would draw it. And it had a rope. You could go something down here would raise this plow up when you come to the end of the furrow. Raise it up so you could turn around and not be plowing down the, you didn't want to turn everything.
Absolutely.
You got to the end of the road, you had to pick it up.
You had to be able to turn around with it.
Turn around and go the other way.
Okay.
They had a rope device. In fact, here's part of the old rope.
What the rope is left,
and
okay.
you reach it right behind you from the tractor and pull it, strip, and then it would flip up in the air.
Okay. Cool. And what about this big thing here?
That's a hay loader, they call it.
A hay loader?
Yeah, it was used
like for bales of hay?
Yeah, well, no, for loose hay.
For loose hay?
Before they had hay bales.
Okay.
They would have they would cut the hay, and they would take it and rake it into a windrow, actually with that device right over there, behind you.
And this is what?
That's a hay rake.
That's a hay rake, so they would cut the hay down, and this
cut
is
the
how
hay
they
down, and then they would pull this thing in a fashion, and it would make a pile of hay in a row.
Okay.
And then
for a big machine like that to come by next?
This machine would come along after, and there would be a truck pulling this, or a trailer, or a wagon, a horse-drawn wagon,
horse-drawn wagon.
And they would pull it way up, it would be right close underneath here.
Okay.
Body would, and then the hay would come up over the top and fall into the
back of the truck. Or the trailer.
Yeah, and they used it around here for lima beans.
Okay.
Years ago, the next door property was a lima bean factory. Birdseye had their lima bean factory over there.
So that would have been interchangeable.
And this was used for lima beans.
Because I can't
Probably
imagine
not for
having hay.
Not for hay, I don't see. But it worked well for the lima bean industry. And that's what they loaded the vines on, and then onto a truck.
Into the truck, and people
would
clean them out.
Bring it over to the next door property where
which is the empty parking lot next door?
Yeah, it used to be the lima bean factory.
Okay. That's where we park, like for the farmer's market and stuff he's talking about. That used to be a big factory over there.
Your grandfather and my father were next door there.
And a lot of islanders.
A lot of the islanders were there.
Yeah, were employed by that. So a lot of people work there, is what he's saying.
That was about 1946 to 45 to 1952.
So that would be like World War?
Yeah, 52 or 53 that went on. It was
Birdseye.
Okay.
It had a frozen food.
I think they still do.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I mean, that's
but that was the Birdseye division of lima bean factory, like.
Okay.
And that's what this was used for.
So this would have been one of Anton Gladys's as well?
Yeah. There were several of these around, and a lot of the local farmers had their own.
Okay.
And they would just use them for that.
And this would, what kind of year, what year would you be talking with this?
Well, they used this in the 40s and 50s.
In the 40s and 50s.
But they were early. This was probably in the teens.
Okay.
1910s.
Okay.
Because it's all iron wheels.
So just after the turn of the century. Okay. Yeah, I wouldn't want to get stuck in that, would you?
It's been set so long that a tree had grown through it over there. The tree had grown through it.
There was a what? A tree that had grown up through it?
Yeah. This thing set so long, you see where the
So let's just be careful, okay? Oh.
The tree had grown.
So that came along with it when you moved it here?
Yeah.
Part of the tree. Yeah, I wouldn't want to get stuck in any of that rusty old cones, huh?
No, it's very
I bet that was pretty dangerous work.
You wouldn't want to climb on
Why is there a piece of wood stuck to it?
That's what he was saying, was that there was a tree that grew up through it.
These tines would take the hay and flip them up, and you grab the hay and would put it up onto a conveyor. There were a bunch of wooden slats on it.
Okay, and that was like worked as a conveyor belt?
This was a conveyor belt.
Okay.
Which what's left of it. It's very
Yeah.
old and tired. But
Wow. So what about that thing behind you?
that is another plow, just like that one.
Okay.
It does the same thing. It just flips the ground over.
Okay.
It's the same vintage as the other one.
Like you, so it'd be pulled by a truck or a tractor?
Tractor, yes. And,
We did that one. Yeah, what are these? So what are these two? This you said
that's
was,
the hay rake.
that's the hay rake.
That's what puts the hay into a windrow.
Okay.
A row of plow on loose hay.
Is this for lima beans as well?
Hay, I don't think so.
Probably not.
This was hay,
Okay.
harvesting hay. Before the baler, they would, when the baler came along, this made it easy for them as well.
Okay.
But it used to work for the one of these.
Kind of neat. And this object behind us, what are we looking at here?
It's called a cultipacker.
A cultipacker?
Cultipacker.
And is this one unit?
It's like a roller. It's one unit.
Is this one
It lays
tool?
down.
It would lay down by Audrey over here?
Yes.
All right.
I
So
bet
let's be
there's
careful,
worms
everybody,
under
okay?
there.
This
I
would
bet
lay
there's
down on
worms
top of
under
the-
there.
So he's saying that this would lay down. Watch yourself, Henry, okay?
Dead
Tip it
stuff.
up.
Yeah?
And this would be towed by the tractor. This would be laying down out here.
Okay.
It would be towed behind a disc,
Okay.
which was another object that followed the plow to break up the soil.
And what did this do?
This would just pack it.
This packed the
It's
soil.
heavy, but it would also pack it in a fashion that it wouldn't wash out.
Before you would plant or after you plant?
Before,
You do this before you planted.
right after the disc.
Okay.
Hey, what
Or
is
it
this
would
for?
follow a planter as well.
What does this do?
Okay. And Henry has a question. If you know that, what would that?
That is that's a planter.
So seeds would go in that probably.
Plant corn with it.
Okay.
Yep. Seeds. It had two handles on it. It's only got one now.
Girls.
Only got one. You put the seeds in here, and you push it along, and it'll drop a seed in the ground. It'll push a little. This thing goes down into the loose soil after you've plowed it and disked it. And this would go into the loose soil and make a little row in the dirt, and drop a seed in every, or 2 or 3 seeds every foot or two. They use it for corn and vegetables.
Okay. So it was probably corn that they were
used,
planting.
yeah, I used probably this one. This was probably Anton lettuces as well.
So you use this. You
I have
planted
used
with
all
these
these
tools.
things, yes.
And you moved them all here.
Yes.
So you pulled them out and moved them all here.
I think most of this stuff was Anton lettuces.
Okay.
Came from his farm. When
What's
he
the
took
thing
down.
all the way over there?
That might not have. That I think came from
Because sometimes these are probably just left in the woods.
I think that came from the Dickersons.
And what was this?
I think
a piece of
I think that's an ice plow for cutting ice.
cutting ice.
I think that's what that is.
Oh, okay.
It's an
Girls.
ice saw. An ice saw, I believe.
Girls.
I'm listening.
Okay.
And that's where you. I think they pulled it by hand. I'm not
Okay.
sure, but
To cut
it
the
had-
ice.
It had a pair of handles on it like this would have, and they would guide it. And I don't think they would put a horse on the ice unless it was very thick, but they might have. There might be pictures around here.
Well, what he was saying is that they would harvest the ice from some of the ponds around here because they didn't have refrigeration. Ice pond, probably specifically.
Yes, exactly.
And they had a little tower, I think, next to Ice
This might
Pond as
have come
well.
from the heights, actually,
So that-
from the ice pond.
So he's saying that's an ice cutter for maybe cutting.
Because it would go like that. You set it on top of the ice, and then you drag it, and each one of these things would chisel a little bit deeper into the ice. Each one's like a saw tooth. And every one would just go down another, whatever it takes to go through the ice. You can break it, and then you can break it. And
Wow, when was the last time we could harvest ice? I mean, I can't think of the last time we could go ice skating and stand on the ponds around here, let alone harvest blocks of it and let a horse and carriages and people be on it, right? So maybe David's ready for us over there with his little
So
steamer.
that's one more
Oh,
item
there was one more thing we didn't talk about. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no problem.
And Henry's over here with it.
As long as we're here.
No, absolutely. Do you like this, Henry? Okay. Yeah, we didn't talk about this one.
This is a
Come on over, everyone.
potato digger.
Oh.
Pull this behind a tractor. In the later years, this was a tractor. And this was Anton Vitus's as well.
Okay.
And the power takeoff. This is a power takeoff shaft. This will be driven from the tractor.
So you're saying that's where it would
This
hook up to the
turn,
tractor?
and then you would put this transmission in gear, and it would turn. This is another conveyor. These
So
chains
these
here.
work as like a conveyor belt, he's saying, so they would rotate. Whoa.
Those chains are a conveyor, and what they do is that device turns all this, and it conveys the potatoes and dirt.
Okay.
The tractor pulls it, and this plow here goes underneath the row of potatoes.
So it actually digs it up for you.
It digs
so
up the potatoes. Before you used to have to dig them with a pitchfork.
with your
Or a
hands,
shovel.
by hand.
Or by hand, whatever. You plant them in hills, and they still plant them in hills.
Yeah, just be careful sticking your parts into any of these parts.
And then that chain goes up on these rollers here, which are
Let's listen
oblong.
up, everybody. Let's
We
listen up.
are listening.
They're on eccentrics, like you might say. I don't know
Okay.
how you describe it, but they shake the chain. The chain just, that's the way the chain goes up, and it
So it
shakes all
doesn't
the
actually
dirt off the
rotate it.
potatoes. It shakes the dirt off the potatoes and causes the dirt to fall off, and just potatoes come up on top of the ground.
And just plain
they land
potato.
on the ground, and then farmers had to come along later and pick them up
And actually do the work.
They
So
put 'em
leave
in
it on the
bags.
ground.
on the ground.
On the ground for them. And
And
what
then-
year would something like this, like,
This is probably in the 30s as well.
so they were still being used up until,
Oh yeah, 1930s. Oh yeah, I used this when I was a kid.
Yep.
Young youngster.
Last
This
year.
was Anton
last year,
Black.
right?
I didn't use it, but I followed it.
Are your initials on here somewhere?
No, but I was behind this thing, picking up potatoes, which was no fun because you had to bend over and pick them and put them in bushel baskets or bags, and then throw them on a truck.
No, a lot of work.
Nowadays, they have a machine very similar to this part of it, but then it has another conveyor on here that brings it up and puts it into a truck.
Oh, convenient.
Makes it much easier.
Can you get Eastern potatoes?
Yeah, oh yeah, there's still quite a few growing around. And they'll be harvesting them pretty soon, actually.
Sweet. On the North Fork, right? Mostly, Jim?
What's that?
On the North
North
Fork,
Fork mostly now. There's still some on the south side, smaller farms, but yeah.
I have like a few potatoes. in my
You
yard.
growing potatoes? Yeah.
And how do you dig your potatoes up?
With a pitchfork.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the hard way.
Because potatoes are really deep in the ground, right?
It's
They're
all
probably a
right.
good foot or two into the ground.
Yeah, they're about a foot.
Okay.
And if you only have one or two plants, that's one thing. But if you have,
Fields.
50 acres.
And apparently we must have had,
oh yeah,
you think of Shelter
Over
Island
here,
having farmland that
yeah.
needed
Yeah.
this
my
kind of,
house is.
there was about this was all
Yeah. Where my house is now. That, used
that
to be
was
a
all
farm.
potato fields and
where I
farm.
live, where you live, Sarah, was
Yep.
my father farmed this.
I can
My
see.
grandfather farmed that. He had lima beans and potatoes in there, different things. He might have used this as well.
Okay.
We should name
Are there any questions over here while we're over here with anything, everyone?
Maddie.
Any questions from anybody? No? All right. So let's go over to the other table and see one more little thing that